Hello all, we have quite a bit of group here and I see a lot more people are joining, but we don't need to hold for any long. I think we should get started. So to begin with, right, SAP migration has been quite a bit of a topic for the last, few years at least, but it's become a very hot topic this year, considering that, 2027 is the HANA deadline, and more and more organizations are trying to, switch, migrate, either go for SAP RISE, do their HANA migration, or figure out an SAP strategy of their own. So whatever choice they go with, even going to another ERP system, there is a lot of activity in SAP. And one of the key challenges is facilitating the migration. I see that we have a lot of people from, who are our SI partners joining the call, and we also see, a lot of SAP users here, right? So you guys all know that SAP migration is not simple. It takes a long time. It's very expensive, and it's fraught with challenges, right? And one of the key challenges is what do you do with data in ECC once you start the migration to HANA? What do you take forward? What do you leave behind, and how you archive this information? How do you make sure that you future-proof this data so that it can continue to be accessible while you don't have to pay for the license or the maintenance of an SAP system? So we are here to discuss it today. We have Jagdish, who has over a decade or couple decades of experience doing SAP. He is our SAP archive expert, and he'll be taking over the rest of the session today. I request you guys to participate as actively as possible, ask questions, make it as lively as we can. So this is more of a knowledge session. We want to share our knowledge. We are willing to take knowledge from you guys too. So please ask questions. Feel free to put in your comments. And thank you all. Thanks for joining. And over to you, Jagdish.
All right. Thanks, Kaka, for briefing out and set the context. And let me share my screen and then let's go over. Yeah, hope you're able to see my screen. Yeah. All right. So thanks everyone for taking your time and joining the session. Yeah, let's move on. So today's topic would be, as described, ECC to S4 HANA migration. Yeah. So during this process, the key strategic role, what we believe is that archiving plays a key role here to ensure that the migration process goes smoothly and successful. Yeah. Moving next slide. Okay, so most S4 HANA programs don't fail at migration. So we all know that, right? Why? Because it is the technical activity which does the migration process. But the question here is how effectively the migration happens without any issues and hurdles, right? That is where the key thing here. So what we see based on our experience is the most of the migration process as a program failed because of the decision taken during the data classification. Yeah, that's where most of the migration process fails here, because usually migrating from ECC to S4 HANA is a strategic transformation, right? And we know it is just not a technical upgrade. Yeah, so systems get migrated, yeah, because the infrastructure moves successfully without any issues, no problem. And the landscapes as well migrated, and the transition happens to the new platform from ECC to S4 HANA. But the thing here is the ECC system remain active. Yeah, so it means that the necessary planning or the action not taken, what you wanted to do with your ECC system, which we call it as a legacy system, once the S4 HANA is migration happens, right? So that's where we say when the ECC system is running in a parallel or remains active, then obviously we call it transformation remains incomplete. Yeah, that's where the migration fails. Yeah, so why it happens? Yeah, why it happens? Because we all know most of the ECC systems are just not an ERP system, right? They are historical repositories of every business decision we made over a decade or more. Yeah, for example, we have FI documents and HR and CO. Multiple business processes were there, which is carrying years of data, and it's a compliance obligations, right? For example, most HR cluster data, yeah, that must be retained for statutory reasons, because those are all the mandatory compliance requests, right? And then some of the custom Z tables reports, right? In my experience, irrespective whatever the migration happens, people sometimes worry about touching the Z objects. Why? Because those Z objects might have built and it was in use for several years, and they don't know if we disturb what is going to break, right? So that business dependencies. Yeah. So considering all these things, we still keep the ECC on hold. It means that from the data perspective, it is not migration ready. So that's why it happens, right? The next thing, why it gets expensive. Yeah. So now if you bring every single data from ECC to S4HANA, obviously it means that you are increasing your target HANA memory consumption. Yeah. It means that obviously it will increase your cost. Yeah. And then the migration path itself will become slow because of huge data which you're going to move from ECC to S4HANA. If you leave the data behind, right, it means that if you wanted to leave some set of data in ECC and then certain data, if you're moving it, then it means that ECC will still continuing staying alive, and then you wanted to use it in a read-only mode for several reasons, right? So, and once if that practice happens, it means that it gets expensive to manage the infrastructure, license cost, maintenance, etc. So either way, at the end, you pay for poor data decision what we are going to make. And henceforth, we strongly believe that the data decision plays a critical role here before we do the migration. So hence the strategic preparation phase, yeah. Before migration begins, yeah, you must deliberately architect your data landscape. It is very essential and mandatory. So it means that you have to classify your data, what is operational and what is historical. Yeah, but the data is required and what is absolute data. Accordingly, you have to design your migration path around the data. What is that you are going to classify? Yeah, for example, whatever the business relevance data which you wanted to continue operational in your new environment, and then separate the categories, right? Very clearly, you have to distinguish what is operational. Like, let's say, for example, you have some open finance documents or invoices, and those things we need to consider because it's an operational and it's not a completely business closed, right? And historical archives, right? Whatever it is, business closed, and you don't require any more data to be, considered operational, and then reduce the footprint. So that reduces your overall ECC database before migration. Once it is done, it means that you are preparing your environment strategically to move forward. Only then move, yeah, the business operations. All right. Now here, so let's say in our past experience, right? Very recent, for one of our experience, what it says is because of archiving was not done. I will say it's partially done, rather say not done. And the database size is closely somewhere between 8.5 to 9 terabytes, right? Where the customer tried to migrate from ECC, EHP8 to S4HANA. During the process, right? During the migration process, what happened is the migration DMO process and runtime exceeded beyond the planned window. So obviously we know, right, what will happen, right? The further weekend downtime activity got extended further, and then obviously business will not accept to it, because what business given the downtime unplanned, and the business operation should start, right? And the result is the business got disruption happened, and obviously we are forced to initiate the rollback again. Why? Because of huge data, the migration window got exceeded. So the root cause is very clear, right? The cleanup was not done appropriately, and whatever the archiving was done, someone not deliberately looked into what it's archived and what is not archived, and what is that residence period, and all those things missed. So that caused the overall rollback initiated recently, what we had in the past. Yeah. So to avoid such cases, right, to avoid such scenarios, very clearly categorize your data, right? Then move it to S4HANA. And all your reference data, which we spoke about, the historical records, must be archived. And of course, once it is archived, it doesn't mean that it is going for end, right? So it should allow us to have all query possibilities, and where there is a need, you should have a reference data to be available for display case. And obviously compliance, yeah. So for the old data, for the archived data, anytime audit trial should run and legal retention requirement should fulfill, right? So once if these three categorization done, it means that we are prepared for ECC to S4 migration path. Why we strongly believe this approach works? It is for reduced scope. It means that before even we migrate, you are reducing the scope. It means what is your database size and what is your actual data you want to carry forward. Simplified architecture. So it means that unwanted structures, data you moved, right? Including the problematic table, which we always refer soft-con table, right? Which carries your unstructured data, right? In this case, we also had one experience very recently, yeah, especially when it comes to the removal of unstructured data. So the client archiving completed and everything is done, but somehow the unstructured data was not concentrated properly, what needs to be done. So what happened, the end result, after the migration, the document links got broken, yeah, and some of the missing attachments in S4 environment, because the link is broken and they couldn't retrieve the document links appropriately. And we all know the result, right? It's a compliance risk. It means that there are some contracts missing, invoices missing, and those things. So the clear root cause is the accessibility and the approach what followed for unstructured, it's somehow derailed here. Yeah, so always to avoid this, we need to manage the structures and complexity properly. Manageable testing. Obviously, we know, right, the testing cycle becomes realistic. Why? Because we have very limited data, and henceforth the testing cycles run properly and precisely. Performance by design, we know the operational data, what we bring into S4HANA, it is going to help your systems run faster. Yeah, because you have only the relevant data. So it means that net we say you control the system before you migrate it, so that your migration process goes very smoothly and effectively. So that's why we say this approach definitely worked in a better way. If you see the reality check, yeah, so typical data distribution, right? Irrespective what the your ECC database size, it could be 6 TB or 12 TB. Most ECC system, based on our previous experience, it's 60 to 80%. It's completely inactive data. It means that they're all historical, accessed, very rare and rare case, only for some audit reasons or legal requirement. And 20 to 30%, yes, we consider it's an operational data which is actively used by day in and day by the daily business operations. So it means without archiving, you pay for 100% versus to use 30% of your actual operational data. Yeah, the remaining data which stays there. Any questions we can take before we go further? Do we have any questions? All right. Jessica, you just let me know if there is, because I'm not getting any pop-up over there, if audience wanted to clarify any questions.
Nothing so far,
right.
Jagdish. You can continue. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Now, the next point over here is archiving failure modes, right? When your archiving strategy fails, right? So that is also very critical things which we need to consider and plan. When the data becomes inaccessible, so after we classify your data, which we call it as reference data or historical data, and then we know that we are going to use it for audit trials and legal purposes, then when it becomes inaccessible, it means that you can't retrieve the data for reporting purpose, right? So then it means that your archiving strategy is not appropriately, planned in place. Business loses visibility. So whenever there is a finance team wanted to consolidate or reconcile the balance sheet or general ledger, then if the data is not visible along with your operational data, it means that they cannot take the correct decisions appropriately, right? So that's where again, and then audit retrieval. So whenever there is a compliance team requested for certain set of records for audit and investigation purpose, and it should be readily available. If it doesn't, it means that your archiving fails there. So always storage without access is failure. It means that your archived data must be always available in a accessible mode as per your business and legal requirements. Yeah, so then it says we say archiving in the right direction.
Jagdish, sorry to interrupt. There's a question in Q&A.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me take that question. Can you read out the question? Let me, otherwise I need to.
Jagdish, the question is, what happens to ECC data that didn't get archived in time? What are our options post go live?
Yes, yeah, good question. So basically, in case if we do archiving planned before migration, but some of the data or some of the archiving object we missed or we haven't touched it. Now the situation is migration got completed. Usually we don't recommend it because the due diligence need to happen before migration to have a safe path. But in certain cases after migration, yes, definitely we need to do our analysis and then perform the archiving again post migration. So it means that obviously two set of archiving data will be there, right? One before migration, that is ECC archive data. And because now it is already in your new platform S4HANA, and obviously, yes, you can do archiving again, but only thing is it will be in a different HANA structure altogether. But yes, technically doable, but strongly recommended to do your due diligence before the migration path. Hope this answers. Yeah. All right. If questions, then I'll move again. The solution required.
Sorry,
yeah,
Jagdish, just one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Is all archive data can be retrieved from S4? In what scenario it is not retrievable?
So yes, it is retrievable, meaning when you do a data archiving before migration ECC, and then now you're going to do the migration. The expectation is that you wanted to access the archived data post migration, that is S4HANA. Yeah, yes, it is technically doable. Only thing is you need to carefully plan your migration in such a way that the archive link is not broken, and then your content server link is not broken, and wherever the archived data, yeah, let's say a content server, yeah, so that content server link is established properly as part of your migration process, then definitely it is doable. If any of the link got broken, then it means that you cannot retrieve your archived data in your new platform, that is S4HANA. So basically, yeah. So technically, when you do a migration plan, you have to consider, you have to clearly decide whether the archived data should be accessible through your S4HANA, or you wanted to access the data outside your SAP environment. Shortly, we will go deeper into that scenario in upcoming slide, how we can get the data retrieval possible. Yeah.
We have two more, Jagdish. Can we go ahead, or do you want to address that later?
Yeah, we can go ahead.
So, okay. So one more question is, if we proceed with the STT S4HANA migration approach, is it still required to perform maximum possible data archiving?
Still data archiving is recommended. Yes, it is recommended.
Let me add on to the question, right? So when you're doing a standard S4 migration, it is recommended to only take what is your current active business data into your HANA systems, and then archive will make sure that your system operates with maximum efficiency when you migrate into HANA.
Okay.
Jagdish, in the interest of time, let's continue.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I have one more question. Archive link is the only solution to archive before migration. There are multiple solutions we have to archive. Let's say Archon is one solution which we can say. Likewise, multiple solutions we have before migration. All right. So let me go back to the deck and then come back for the question. All right. Yeah, the solution requirement. Yeah, successful archiving initiatives must deliver structured retention. Yeah, clear policies for your lifecycle management must be there. It is not that we archive it and then forget it. No. So the complete end-to-end lifecycle need to be managed until the retention policy is defined based on your policies. Yeah. Context preservation. Not only the data, including the metadata and the relationships must be intact. Why this is essential is tomorrow when the data is archived and kept it outside SAP, then you need to know the metadata, right? How the relationship, what reports need to be generated, all those things happens. Only the metadata is preserved properly, yeah, and query capability. So this is one critical functionality to be there when you decide your archival solution. Why? Because once it is archived outside SAP, then it means that if you are not going to access your archive data through S4, then there must be a flexible way of query search option should be there in order to retrieve your data. Say for example, you wanted to retrieve the document numbers or the invoices created in the year 2005 for the company code, let's say 1000 or 2000, whatever, right, for the respective plan. So such kind of open queries, if you wanted to do, then your solution should accommodate that, right? So that then it's called a successful archiving initiative, right? So that is the key thing which you must consider. And then the critical role-based access, yeah. So like we have a tight security control within SAP, there must be a role-based access need to be given. Who should access what, right? It cannot be open access. So based on the org structure, this must be clearly controlled. Audit readiness. So we know, right? So when there is an audit request, immediate access to be given for the respective data for the legal needs. So that's how the solution requirement is supposed to be. Once all in place, it means that you take control of your migration, right? So we always say and recommend archiving isn't an afterthought. It must be from day one. In fact, it should even start before you perform your HANA readiness check. Yeah. So then it means that you plan your archiving and then you do your readiness check. So it means that the readiness check will give precise detail about your data and what needs to be done way forward for your migration process. So plan early and then execute deliberately. So it's not an option, right? We must spend time in order to perform your data archiving before migration. The third is very critical. It means that you have to verify whatever the data you are going to archive, is it in an accessible state the way you wanted or the way business requires, right? So that is critical. So once all these three things done, it means that you are ready for migration path. Most SAP architectures miss this. Historical data storage. Yeah. So it means you are going to preserve your complete historical data without burdening your active system, that is your S4. And full access to your legacy data and without your ECC infrastructure. So it means that you are going to plan to replace your archiving component to provide full access to your legacy data, because we think if it is S4HANA migrated, then ECC should not be there, right? Ideally, that's ideal stage. Compliance support, enforce retention policies and audit requirements automatically. Yeah, so based on that, so this needs to be planned. Yeah. So how your strategic architecture layer should be there. Yeah. External to SAP, it means all your reference data, ECC data should be moved externally to SAP so that your current HANA architecture or the landscape is not heavily loaded. Historical ECC data, complete extraction and preservation. Direct access path, business users and auditors should have access without any ECC dependency. And of course, the way auditors requires, the data should be in that format. It's not that any other format like Excel sheet or PDF. The way audit approved format need to be preserved and directed. This is what enables true decommissioning. It means that you are truly allowing your ECC environment to get decommissioned. Yeah. So here we are positioning Archon Data Store as a product, which comprises whatever the requirement which we spoke, eligible for data archiving. Yeah. So it's a homegrown product, ADS Archon, which is a powerful and secure archive platform to store your massive data, that is ECC data here, which helps you to search, process, and do your data analysis as per your business requirement. So that is where Archon Data Store plays a key role here, which stores your data and then allow you to access the way auditors, legal requirements, and business need. And it is also help you to store your metadata, including the relationships. As we discussed, this is one key thing which will help you to manage your flexible query option. And also it increases your analytical capabilities with your historical data, what you wanted to, All right. So what is our product suite contains? So one, analyzer. So this analyzer component, what it does is it analyzes your complete legacy platform, that is in this case ECC environment, and then it builds a relationship model, how the data is interconnected and what relationship it maintains, so that in future, if you wanted, it will help you in navigating that. And also it provides application code analysis. So these are all the different kind of analysis. So maybe in SAP's term, we can say a DVM report or a EWA report kind of analysis, which doesn't provides a very detailed, elaborated manner about your data. And Archon ETL. So this component which comes with built-in connectors. So from SAP perspective, you name any database. Let's say if your ECC is running on SQL Server or Oracle or Sybase or DB2 or HANA, any database which you talk, and we have built-in connectors as part of our ETL. And then we say smart ETL. It's nothing but which allows you to extract your metadata and the relationship logic, and then automation, program management. All these are part of Archon ETL bundle. And then the data store, right? Archon Data Store, which is kind of on-prem or cloud solution, which also contains storage sharing and big data secure and compliant. So this part is especially used to manage and govern your data end to end. So all this, the three major thing, and we have a few other components as well as part of production, but these three are the major three key components which we consider as Archon as a product. All right, so yeah, just to showcase the underneath layer of Archon suite. So Archon as a product operationalize this strategy. Yeah. As we discussed so far, it preserves your data and its relationships from the ECC. Yeah, which helps you to maintain your data integrity and context. Structured data storage. Yeah. So whatever the tables we have in the way structured the similar way, it helps you to store the data in optimized manner, of course. Yeah. Secure access and reporting. Yeah. Which we discussed. So based on the role-based access, we provide access to the based on the SAP org structure manner, right? So for example, certain company code and plant need to be accessed by certain department, yes. And certain financial legal documents need to be accessed by the auditors, yes. So such kind of secure access can be granted. integrates unstructured data. So this is one critical thing which we spoke, right? Post migration, how the softcon link gets broke if proper diligence is not there in place, right? So here as a Archon, so we carefully integrate your unstructured data, pointing with your structured data without any broken links. It enables discovery and analytics because why? Because we preserve your metadata and the relationships, which enable you to do the way you wanted to discover your data and perform your own analytics. Yeah, then automates retention and compliance, right? For example, if you wanted to implement retention policies from the day of archiving until for next 10 years, you can define your own retention policies. After 10 years, it will trigger an email, a workflow to say, okay, to delete permanently. So it means that after 10 years or after 5 years, based on your retention policies defined, your archived data will get deleted permanently from your Archon. Yeah, so this kind of automation is possible based on your, what you're going to define. So it minimizes always your risk. So the end result would be from ECC environment. We are moving towards Archon, which is going to manage your historical data. Why we say plus S4HANA, it's not only help you to manage your historical data, it will also help you in managing your way forward live archiving. That means your S4HANA, right? So typically from ECC, we are moving towards, S4 plus Archon, because it's your active core system and your Archon is nothing but your extended data layer, which is going to manage your historical data and as well as whatever the data which you are going to, continue your archive, because this archiving process doesn't end only for historical. It is also extended to your live archiving process, right? So that's what. So then we say ECC is no longer required, yeah, because your data can be accessed through your extended data layer. So this is our high-level archiving overview. Let's say you have your ECC environment, and then Archon comes into place to extract your archived data, including your metadata and relationships. So it means that whether it is structured data from your ECC schema or the unstructured data, whether it could be a softcon table or you store your scanned images in your external content server, SAP content server or MaxDB, or any semi-structured. So irrespective how your data stored in your legacy ECC environment, it can all move to Archon data store, and which helps you to retrieve, govern, and store. Yeah. Once this is completely done, it means that you are ready for ECC decommissioning. Once it is decommissioned, you can access your data through our Archon user interface. So it's nothing but it looks like your Fiori tiles. Sorry, the tiles are minimum size, but it is like FB03, FBL3, and ME23, and so likewise the predefined tiles built in to access your archived data through our Archon user interface. The other alternate, obviously, yeah. So if you wanted to access your archived data through S4HANA, yes, definitely it is possible. But if you do not want to overburden your S4 and then you wanted to keep a thin line drawn between your operational and historical data. Obviously, Archon provides a flexible user interface, predefined screens, and as well as query builder, where you can build your own queries to fetch your archive data. So this is how your archiving, overview looks like when you plan for ECC to S/4HANA migration. Now, the risk of archiving after migration, right? What will happen? Yeah. So what will happen, because your migration program already goes with a committed cost, right? If you're going to do it after migration, it means that your cost will increase because you need to plan for your archiving project, right? Then obviously it will increase your TCO. Complexity is permanent, right? It means you're going to carry all your historical data forward, and then it means you're going to increase your maintenance in your target environment. Obviously, it's a limited benefit because based on our previous experience, we don't see any value add to perform the data archiving after migration. Yeah, so it is always recommended. But technically, it is doable, but it got a very limited benefits out of it. All right, what's the advantage of archiving before migration? Yeah. So obviously, right, it's not about reducing only the data volume. It's a kind of strategy, right? What we are going to do a true business transformation, right? Your S/4HANA remains clean, and you are going to start your go live process with the optimized data. And once your S/4HANA is stabilized and you're sure that the data, whatever you're going to archive, it is in a retrievable state, you're ready for ECC retirement. Data stays accessible. Your historical data is always preserved and accessed through Archon's extended data layer. And of course, yeah, compliance guaranteed, right? So there is no compromise there, and your retention policies is very well managed and maintained, automated. All right, so to conclude, yeah, if you move everything, you carry the past forward. And if you archive first, obviously you define the future. Yeah, we are moving towards closure. And before we close, our presence, UK, America, India, Singapore, and Australia. So these are all our core presence. Some of our clients listed out here where we help them in smooth migration process. All right, so yeah, here we are coming to the end of our presentation. So please feel free to continue the conversation through our email ID and the contacts anytime. Rasika, over to you to take any questions.
So if we have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. Jagdish Karka has answered a few questions on the chat box itself. So
okay, all right.
We can take more if anybody has any more questions. We'll wait for another 2-3 minutes to see if anybody has a question. Yeah, there's one in the chat box.
So one of the questions that was interesting to me, Jagdish, was, um, can I access if I have already created archiving objects, ADK files, can I access that from the HANA application, or what is your archival strategy for that, right? So what would you, as an expert, how would you answer that?
So my understanding is the ADK files got created the ECC environment, and the migration didn't consider those ADK. Why? Because we have two options here, right? So once if the ADK files are generated before migration, and as part of migration path, if you are going to migrate those archive links, content server, everything as part of your migration path, then definitely you can access those from S4HANA. If it's broke, then obviously yes, we have Archon custom developed component which helps to extract the ADK to get that access. But if the data need to be accessed through S4HANA, then the migration path to be planned appropriately to get that accessed.
See, I would say that it also depends on the business requirement, right? Is there an explicit need to access those archiving objects from HANA? If not, we can access it from Archon itself. We don't need to migrate the data into HANA. It's easier to just take the ADK files and have them accessible through Archon.
Yes, Karkam, because most of the large customers won't prefer that. Why? Because they wanted to draw a clear line, what is historical and what is operational, right? They don't want to club. Henceforth, yes, the easiest and the best approach and recommendation would be take those ADK file and then bring those data into Archon user interface and then provide access to those data. Yeah, that's the best approach. Yeah.
Another interesting question that came in was, how do you migrate the corresponding unstructured data with the structured data, as in corresponding documents? How do you know that you have archived them properly? What would your response to that be?
Yeah, so this is where our Archon analyzer comes into the picture, where it clearly identifies the data. What is the unstructured? What are those unstructured data associated to structured data, right? For example, some of the finance document or the sales document which got PDF or attachment plugged in, then those data is identified there. So in this case, we follow the SAP's best practices that the step one, we migrate those unstructured data from your ECC environment, that is softcon table, or the existing content server, irrespective of your legacy system where the data, unstructured data is there. Step one is we migrate those unstructured data to Archon, followed by the structured data archival. Yeah. So by doing this, we are not going to break any link between the structured and unstructured. We are carrying it as is, followed by the best practices. So your link is intact. And once the both structured and unstructured brought into Archon, then we have our own predefined screen to show them or display the data the way they wanted. Yeah.
Another question that came in was, what if I'm already in the migration? How do I deal with this, right? And I thought my answer was, you complete the migration and then retire the ECC system. Just archive everything from ECC. That way you have data immutability. You can decommission the ECC system, and it's a very easy path forward. Doing it upfront is ideal, but doing it after is essential. So,
yes.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to.
Karka, there's one more in the chat box. There are, Rajiv has asked if there are audit requirements for finance data.
Usually there are always audit requirements for finance data. And sorry, you take this.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yes, we do have audit requirement report. So two set of reports we have in our interface, right? One typically, if you call FBL3 and 5N, and then F.03. So likewise, the predefined reports are already exist. Number two, sometimes it's a kind of custom Z reports you might be having as of now. Similar kind of custom reports, ABAP reports will not be there in our product, but the query flexibility we have, as we spoke, right? You can just simply drag and drop whatever the tables and the data you wanted, and then you can build your own audit required reports very easily. Yeah, that is possible.
Another question that came in was, is AC Doka archivable in the S4HANA system?
Yes. We, in fact, this is very recent challenge we had, this, right? AC Doka, because the format of AC Doka is a bit complex because it comes in a compressed form, right? Yes. Initially, we had some challenges, but we could break through it, and then we successfully managed to reduce the AC Doka size. But only thing is, it's not a straightforward archival process which we need to follow for this object. But definitely, it is we achieved this table. Yeah. But only thing is, we need to adopt some compression logic towards this archival process. Yes.
It's definitely doable.
Yes. Does the tool have capability to hold the data even it is past retention period? So there is a workflow we defined, right, for the retention. But once it is, if let's say I have a automated workflow defined for 5 years, then you don't have a control because it's already automated, and post retention period automatically permanently purge and then deletes the data permanently. Yeah, but if you do not want to automate and there you wanted to put couple of approval workflow there, when the day comes in, it sends you an email or a text saying that this set of data is waiting for permanent deletion. At that point in time, you can definitely decide whether you want to hold or you wanted to say yes. Yeah.
Hey, this is an interesting question. Let me take that. How will we handle litigations for archive data? See, one of the biggest challenges when you're using archiving objects, right, is the discovery capability. Accessing individual transactions is easy, but if you are trying to discover and find everything related to an invoice for a customer, when you are having the need to query across archiving objects, the standard SAP capability becomes a huge challenge. And at that point, Archon really helps because it provides the ability to query across different archiving objects, and that provides you the ability to retrieve data for litigations without too much of a hassle. Okay. Very cool. I think the questions have also subsided. Guys, I hope this session was...
Yeah, there is one question. Is the pre-built views are limited to SAP type application? At the moment, the predefined screens are for SD, FI, and all core modules, including HR. For other ECC components or the other SAP component like SRM, CRM, it is not predefined, but on a need basis, yes, it is customizable. So obviously, it is doable. Should not be a problem. Sudhir.
And to answer the question from Rajagopalan, yes, we archive non-SAP applications too. We are an enterprise archival solution. We have specialization in SAP, but it's built for enterprise. Enterprise systems. We have connectors to almost every ERP systems, banking systems, HR systems, ECM systems. So it supports all of the non-SAP applications too. I think it's a wrap. Rasika, why don't you take over?
Yes, Karka. I think we are. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I will send over feedback form post the session. So we would love to hear your reviews. So if there's anything else that you want details on, or you have any other questions, we'd be happy to help you post the session. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us at any time, guys. We have find this very exciting and we'd be happy to collaborate with all of you. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks for your time.